Welcome to this edition of the Wonderbury podcast.
I'm Brian,
I'm Dave,
and you can find us online at wonderbury.com.
and I am D Wonderly on Twitter.
Or I'm Brian Keysbury, anywhere the internet can be found.
You can leave us a comment at our website. Check for the link in the description.
Yes. And on our Reddit.
How was your week, Brian?
Oh, not too bad. Pretty relaxed.
Well, that's good. Everyone deserves one of those weeks.
Yeah. Especially after a string of just crazy. I was ready for one.
You've had a string of just insanity happening, haven't you?
Insane.
That's good. I fixed my my Chromebook woes this week.
Yeah, you were saying
you got the wonderful little Samsung Chromebook Pro. Nice. And this thing is as good as I thought it would be.
So
in some ways a little bit better.
What are those retail for?
I got this one through Best Buy's website at, I think it was $550. So they're a little more on the pricey premium end. Yeah. But definitely worth, they say you kind of get what you pay for, especially with electronic stuff. So I went with the Pro, so it doesn't have the ARM processor. It has the Intel M. And it comes in about 2.5 pounds, completely folds over to tablet mode, has the fancy Samsung stylus that pops out and you can use. Handwriting recognition is amazing on it. And it comes with, it's one of the few that comes with the Android apps completely designed for it. So apps is still in beta. It's still a little wonky at times. One thing I noticed that with them, you don't get window decorations. So you have to long press down at the title bar and click close to close out the apps. But overall, it's been it's one of those, so they don't put it in a container for windowing. They just kind of have it there. Some of them I think do, others don't. It's been kind of interesting getting used to a different workflow with it, but
yeah,
it's also not the 16:9 aspect ratio.
Yeah, it's 3:4.
It's the 3:4, which I have to say I really like. I don't have a problem with 16:9, but the 3:4 is kind of nice to have.
Yeah, I figure in tablet mode that's probably a lot more user friendly too.
In tablet mode, it's kind of nice. I tend to use the tablet in landscape, or not landscape, in portrait versus landscape.
Yeah.
Just because of how I write with it, but even having it in a tinted mode or a different mode like that is real nice.
Nice.
So it's been kind of nice this way. I mean, it's definitely different. It's got to get used to it a little bit, but it doesn't hang and hesitate like my old one did, and does everything I need to it, then some.
Yeah, that was on the top of my list for things I was looking at. If there were more ability to do video editing between Android and web apps, I think I would have jumped on it.
Yeah, I know that Adobe is testing some basic video editing with like a Premiere Mobile.
Yeah.
There's some online stuff that's still kind of
well, video is pretty good.
If you have a decent internet connection, and it will run off my tether fairly decently with it.
Yeah.
I just remote desktop into my desktop and do all my editing here. I can edit from my from the Chromebook on my desktop, and that makes things somewhat more worth it.
See, and if I had a good, powerful desktop, that would have been feasible. I mean, the one that you gave me does pretty good, but it doesn't. It takes a long time to process stuff.
Yeah, but also the one I gave you is an older desktop. It's got a lot of RAM, but the processing power is kind of eh.
Yeah, and it's an i3.
It'll move. It'll move, but it'll take its time getting there. It'll do it. It just takes a little bit of extra time.
So I was eating some soup yesterday. I like to make ramen. I like ramen soup.
Yeah.
Ramen noodles. Which people give me crap about eating ramen because there's like no nutritional value, but I make stuff that goes in it. So I add, like it. You use
it as a noodle instead of as a meal.
Yeah, I use it as a base to make a soup.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, so I was eating my soup, and I have ramen spoons, and that's anytime I have any soup or like even cereal and stuff. That's all I use. I use my ramen spoons. I don't know if that's what they're actually called or not, but yeah, that's so I was sitting there eating my soup and like, here's my gadget recommendation. Like, this thing works way better than any other spoon for getting liquids out of a bowl and into your mouth. So
awesome.
Figured I'd
I'll make sure that that link gets in the down in the description then for that.
Cool. It's in the card. I threw it up in the card.
Yeah, I see it in the card now. Yep, Highwire 12-piece soup spoons. Asian soup spoons, notch with hook style.
I've got a different style. I've got a different one than that, but I figured you'd buy a 12-pack for $10. That's a pretty good deal.
Yeah. Perfect for ramen, cheese wonton, cereal, soba, faux noodle bowls. Dude, yeah, much better for drinking soup and rice than metal ones.
Yeah, literally any soup. See, the thing is, they're longer. Like the spoon part. What's the scoop part of a spoon called? Is that a spade? Bowl. Is it a bowl? So I don't know. Can we call it a spade?
a spoon is just a bowl with a handle. It's just a smaller bowl with the handle.
So
you take liquids from the big bowl to the small bowl with the handle and then into your mouth.
So with the with the ramen spoon, it's longer. It's probably 3 inches compared to a regular soup spoon is just your circle of a regular spoon with the flat handle coming almost directly out of it. But then the key is there's a lot more angle, so when you can put it in your bowl and bring it out without having to tip it. And then
it looks like it's also a little bit deeper. It's a capacity of 1 ounce, and it measures 6 1/4 inches long by 1 3/4 inches wide.
Yep. Yeah, and then you tip it
looks
up
like it's
and
got
it
a
just
notch
dumps right into your mouth.
It's got a notch too, to where it will hold on, so you can keep the shovel part of the spoon in whatever you're doing, and it has a notch to hold on to the edge of the bowl or
so it doesn't
whatever container you're eating out of.
If you're like me and you have a 12-inch cereal bowl, I lose spoons in my cereal all the time. But mine doesn't have that hook on it, which is why. So
yeah,
maybe I'll go ahead and order some of these too.
Yeah, $10. They're on sale right now for $10. They're normally $7 or $16.99 for the 12-pack, but that's a pretty good deal.
Gadget recommendation and on sale. Look at that. Can't beat that.
There you go. Not two for one on that one.
But I'm going to try not to continue with the kitchen gadget recommendations, but I do have some neat kitchen gadgets, so it's going to be
everyone eats and everyone drinks. So why not? So kind of going off of what we talked about last week, we were talking about streaming and everything, and we started to kind of touch into more of some of the negative side effects that's been happening in entertainment since everything went to broadband, and I think we
Yep.
can kind of expound on that a little bit.
Yeah. I thought about something that I forgot to put on the card while I was waiting to start the episode. But everybody talks about movie and TV show streaming, but not a lot of people talk about music. Like there's issues there too, and the music streaming services are really good. They're definitely a lot more put together than what video services are.
Well, I think honestly, Napster had a lot to do with that.
Yeah.
They set a standard that everybody should meet when they put together, and also, well, Napster/Spotify, because what the guys were intending for Napster ended up becoming Spotify after all the legal stuff kind of blew over, and they realized that just bringing streaming content instead of downloadable content was the way to go.
Yeah.
And doing it subscription based.
Yeah.
But even then, I mean, people like to say that artists aren't making as much money. I'm not sure how much that is true versus labels aren't making nearly as much money.
Yeah, labels definitely aren't. And that's, if you really read into the history of music royalties and such, artists never really got paid much for recording and releasing an album.
The label was just they were taking them to town for it.
Yeah. Well, the label would front all of the cost of recording the album. They would buy the studio time. They would pay to have the albums pressed, pay all the engineers and producers, all the tech people working on it. They'd hire the extra musicians if they needed them. So that, they covered all of the costs, and the band would write the albums and come in and record. So they were
absorbing the risk and in turn absorbing most of the profits.
Yep. But out of that, artists were generally guaranteed a certain amount of money on an album. They were bought on that. Which generally wasn't always a whole lot, but the record companies also made it really easy to get tours set up, and that's where artists would make their money, is in the live shows and the merchandise sales. They'd make a lot more money on ticket sales than they did on album sales.
And live shows, as much as people thought they were going to go away, if anything, they've gotten more popular.
Yeah. Yes. Especially with way, light production and, they're putting on, the good artists are putting on a whole show, like a huge show. And if you watch like live videos of Paul McCartney, 9 Inch Nails, there's a jazz funk EDM artist, his name is Excision.
I know Excision.
Amazing live shows, like just so much stuff going on, and it's a full sensory overload rather than just like sitting down and listening to music. But
well, it becomes a more encompassing experience, because you're not just listening, you're now feeling and in a lot of cases participating and being a part. I mean, that whole idea of being a part of a concert is coming back.
Yeah.
So I think that music streaming has done an excellent job in navigating some of the pitfalls.
Yeah.
There's some artists that still don't like it, and they've tried to do their own things at times, and
that
more
is the
power
issue.
to them. But it goes back to that whole fragmenting of services. There are some artists that Google has that Apple doesn't have, and ones that Apple has that Google doesn't have.
Yeah.
And then there's some Spotify ones. I mean, you can really absorb down streaming music into three services, three
Yeah.
main services.
See,
And there's a couple of artists that are trying to do their own thing, but like I said, they're not really gaining traction because they're overpriced, they're whatever.
Yeah. See, and
But that fragmentation of services is something that is it's one of the sad things that have come from all of this.
Yeah.
Is once people realized, oh, they'll pay $10 for Netflix, they'll pay $10 for Hulu, they'll pay $10 a month for these things. Well, now everyone is competing for their own $10 a month plan.
Yeah.
And it becomes very muddy very quickly. I mean, I'm seriously contemplating paying $10 a month to watch Star Trek.
We could, we could split that. Anyways,
yeah.
So I liken the audio streaming services to record stores, and like you think about going into a record store. They have all their records lined up on display. You can go in, you can find any artist from any genre, any record label. When they went that way, they were non-discriminatory because it was better to get their music out to more consumers.
Yeah.
And the streaming services are battling to get more subscribers, even though there's way less of those than there are or ever have been of record stores.
Yeah, so it's kind of an interesting business dialogue that's going on there.
Yeah.
Because record stores are actually starting to also make a roaring comeback because thanks to hipsters and millennials, vinyl is back.
Yeah, and it's not. I mean, I wouldn't.
The number one age of purchasers for vinyl is 14 to 25.
That's new press vinyl.
Regardless, it's still vinyl. It's still coming back.
Yeah.
Whether it's new press vinyl, old press vinyl, whatever, the high fidelity of vinyl is coming back. The appreciation for the art of an album is coming back.
Yeah. That's because of the quality of the audio you'll get off of a vinyl record compared to anything else. It's going to be
I also
better.
think it has something to do with the quality of music and options. So streaming doesn't give you the best of audio. Yeah. It gives you workable or usable audio where you can enjoy it and you can listen to it. But the compression is just going to be too much.
In the world of audio, an MP3 is the worst possible thing you can have. Compared to anything, I would rather have an 8-track on some cracked speakers in a old Chevy pickup than an MP3. 100% of the time.
But the music, being able to stream music, introduces you to artists, which in turn bring that out.
Yeah.
In turn, they'll learn to love the service, they'll learn to love the music and the artists, and they go out and they buy either vinyl cuts or they'll go to shows. They'll do a lot more now than they have for a very long time.
Yeah. Yep.
But that also brings up another interesting thought process too, is that finding the good stuff. And this goes for any entertainment, whether it's video, whether it's music. It is hard to find good content in the sea of, when everyone becomes a creator, it's very difficult to find the good quality.
Yeah. First place you could start is youtube.com/Wonderbury. Amazing quality stuff. Anyways. Yeah, there's a lot of crap out there. And I'm pretty particular about, I'm particular about what I re-listen. Like, I'll listen to anything at least once. But I'm particular about what I'll listen to again. And Google Play Music does do a pretty good job of remembering all the stuff that I've listened to multiple times and building other playlists off of that and combining things. But it sticks me in a bubble. Like, I don't hear new stuff on my playlist very often.
Every once in a while, what I like to end up doing is I'll know a band that I like, because I listen to several different genres of music.
Yeah.
So I'll know a band that I like. So if I want something that's a little lighter rock or whatever, my wife turned me on to this band called Zox. Awesome. They're kind of the same playlist as like Presidents of the United States and some of those types of bands. And I'll just start a radio based off of their music and just listen to a bunch of stuff.
Yep.
Because I have a very wide, because I'll go from listening to that for 20, 30 minutes, and then I'll turn on Elstrom, and I'll listen to, Scottish pirate metal. and move on and, start radio from there and listen to all these different weird abstract bands that I never would have found otherwise.
That's about as far as we get, but it needs to push it out further. It needs to have one more arm out.
Yeah. Well, and it's getting there, because most people, you and I, tend to listen to a much wider range of stuff than, or even watch, going into the algorithms that these different streaming companies have of suggested stuff. We watch a very wide variety of stuff. Both of us are massive Trek fans. I think it's fair to say we're also very, very big fans of sci-fi.
Yeah.
But we enjoyed branching out. I just started watching a show. It's on, I think, Showtime or Stars, called Black Sail. And it's a pirate show. And it's absolutely amazing so far. I'm a few episodes in, and it's really good. But no, but one of the big problems, though, that it also brings up is that the more that we stream, the more we listen to, is, to be frank, our infrastructure for broadband it is dying in the United States. It hasn't been updated in years. We're trying to do more with an increasingly bad infrastructure. And I will blame 100% the telecoms for this. They were given money in the late 90s, early 2000s, or in the 2000s, specifically for bolstering the infrastructure.
They were supposed to.
They slowly ramped up the speeds to pretty much where we're at now, which is about the max that comes out of the infrastructure, while pocketing all the money. And now they don't have enough money to do what they were supposed to do. I don't understand how or why they can get away with telling us, stealing money for infrastructure when they didn't do it. That's when it becomes stealing. I don't mind that they gave them the government gave them a bunch of money to fix the infrastructure, but they didn't do anything with it.
Yeah. The plan was they were supposed to lay out fiber optic to like 90% of people living in the United States.
Yeah. And I think broadband services... Hang on. Before I start spouting off numbers, I'm going to look this up real quick. Because it was amazing how little any broadband gets to Americans.
Yeah. And the fact that I live in a pretty populous area, we're the second biggest city in Michigan. I don't know. I would say that with Grand Rapids, city and the outlying suburban cities is probably a population of 1 million. You'd think at that point the people in the city would have more options. Whereas where I'm at, and I've talked about this before, my house, I have one option for internet, and that is Comcast. And they do not have a gigabit service available to me. I don't remember what the top tier was, but it was maybe like 250 megs a second. Speaking of which, I did get my internet upgraded this week.
Oh, good.
So
finally,
supposedly I at least upgraded the amount I pay every month. Beyond that, supposedly I have 75. I should have a steady 75 megs a second download speed. Now I know I shared a screenshot with you, but I did 4 different speed tests, all one right after the other. Left them all up on the screen with their results.
Nice.
And took a screenshot of that. So Google has one built right into the search. So if you type in speed test into Google,
yep,
it automatically gives you the option to do a test right in that page, and it just brings up a little pop up. That said, I was averaging about 25. I did Ookla? Is that right? There's where they said I was 79 or something, right under 80. I did an AT&T, thinking, AT&T is a competitor of Comcast. They should either tell me correctly or undershoot me. And they came out at 83, so it was pretty similar to the Ookla test. And then I did the Xfinity speed test. And it claimed I was getting speeds of 143, which was about twice as fast as any other speed test told me. So, I'm wondering why theirs says it's so much faster than anybody else says it is. And why the Google one was so much slower.
Well, it all depends on packets and how those servers are doing at the time, and there's a lot of things that goes into a speed test. Speed tests test the speed of your internet connection to their particular servers that they're using at that time. So you can toggle 2 speed tests to a certain service at the exact same time, and you can get 2 different results based solely on if one of them is having a higher packet transfer, if they're having higher traffic there versus a second one connected to a secondary server. Going back to so every year the FCC is required to have a broadband progress report. So what the commission, the use of broadband is a minimum of 25 megabits per second up, 3 megabits per second down for fixed services. There are 0 satellite broadband services that meet the 25.3 speed thresholds as of the reporting period, so through 2006 or 16. Report does not address whether the question of fixed satellite broadband services meeting the speed threshold would be considered to provide advanced telecommunication capability. So, because the satellite doesn't beam down fast enough or receive up fast enough, it's not part of classified as broadband internet according to the FCC. So, because of that, 10% of all Americans lack access to any broadband service. 40% of rural America, or 23 million people, lack access.
Technically, that'd be my parents. And actually, apparently, by those specs, before this upgrade, I did not have broadband at my house.
Correct.
Interesting.
Approximately 41% of schools lack the connectivity to meet the commission's short-term goal of 100 megabits per 1,000 students. So, yeah, it's kind of crazy because all of this, and this is after, they pretty much, the commission finds these advances are not enough to ensure that advanced telecommunications capabilities being deployed to all Americans in a timely way. So the whole process of that is that people aren't getting access to the services. And because telecoms are the way they are, there are things like, the industry is fighting back, between the takedowns, and I understand the point behind DRM. I don't always like it, but I get it. But they're flooding the services, and then telecoms are trying to restrict services to competing, and there has been the invention of cord cutting has been absolutely awesome because you can pay for what you want to watch.
Yeah.
But the downside of that is you end up paying a bigger price to watch all that you want.
Yeah.
And if you give up cable, your 250 channels or whatever for $80 a month, and you say, well, I want to watch just these 8 channels or 8 shows or whatever. If they're on 8 different competing services, you're suddenly paying a lot more.
Yeah.
You got to think the Amazon Prime is about $10 a month. Netflix is 10, Hulu is about 10, maybe give or take a couple of bucks. And then you start getting into, HBO, okay, that's an extra 15. CBS is going to be another 10. I mean, suddenly you're now up to $65, and we haven't even started cutting into any sports related things, or anything. I mean, it becomes very muddy and very insane very quickly.
It's ridiculous.
And then it all culminates to the current nice little fight that's going on at the FCC of net neutrality. But that'll be next week. Because we're out of time for this week.
Trying to watch any sort of sports online is so hard.
It depends on what sport you want to watch.
Yeah. Well, doing it and not wanting to like full out pay for a whole system.
Yep.
Well,
I mean, that's what I end up doing. I watch a lot of hockey.
Yeah.
And I am a massive LA Kings fan, which is nice because I don't live in an area where it gets blacked out, which blackouts is another. Don't even get me started on blackouts. But for me to watch the LA Kings, I have to buy the NHL package, which I think runs me about $200 a year.
Dang.
But the nice thing is that it allows for up to 6 connections, so I get like 5 other people to throw in because they also like hockey teams that are out of market. So, it's not so bad, but I pay $200 a year to watch hockey legally.
Yeah.
I could find the streams, but I like to do stuff legally. It's just a lot nicer and neater and tighter that way.
Yeah, but for somebody like me that doesn't watch a lot of sports, but occasionally I would like to, catch a Cubs game. Or, say somebody comes over and they're like, oh, how's my sports team doing? I'm like, I couldn't tell you. Like, I don't have a way. Like, it just, if there were some sort of, and if I had cable TV, I could just punch a channel in and there's the game.
Yeah.
But I don't.
And
I don't have that.
And that's where sports, they're starting to, but traditional television, especially with blackouts, still has that lockdown on it, and it's annoying.
Yeah.
But that'll do it for this week. Next week we will dive a little bit deeper into net neutrality, and then in 2 weeks we have a special guest and a special surprise. So look forward to that.
First ever guest.
Yeah, our first guest on the Wonderbury podcast, and I'm looking forward to him. So, till next week, guys, take care. Stay safe.
Later.